Revealed, the sinister rules I discovered while working at a haunted Arizona gas station. The gas station loomed in the darkness like a grave marker, its flickering neon sign buzzing like a swarm of disturbed hornets. Maria shivered as she pulled into the parking lot of Denny's Gas & Go, her heart racing. The faded paint peeled off the walls like old skin, the place smelled stale, as if it harbored too many broken dreams. Whispers surrounded this gas station, legends of the vanished that chilled her more than the chilly desert night. Yet, desperation pushed her forward, student loans looming over her like a hangman's noose. On her first night, a frazzled man stumbled in, his eyes wide and frantic. He rushed to the vending machine, his hands trembling as he pressed the buttons. The sound of whirring and clanking filled the air, growing louder, almost mocking. She watched, apprehension mounting, as he paused, gaze fixed, mouth moving but words escaping, gasping at shadows only he could see. Then he simply vanished, as if the shadows claimed him. Maria's breath caught in her throat, and cold sweat trickled down her spine. The loneliness of Elkhorn suddenly felt very palpable. As days folded into weeks, the legends rolled off town tongues like a bad cold. Best to keep to yourself, Maria, an old lady warned her, eyes narrowing. This place ain't what it seems. Chills ran through her as she began to notice strange carvings behind the counter, etched into the wood as if by frantic hands. Don't sleep, don't trust the locals, don't accept help. Each rule tightened around her chest like a vice. She tried to shake the dread, but the weight pressed heavier with every moonless night. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Paranoia seeped into every corner of her mind. Shadows danced beyond her periphery, and whispers crept through the empty aisles. The local authorities looked at her, eyes glazed over, dismissing her concerns with a shrug. She saw their knowing glances, the way the townsfolk shared fleeting looks. Maria was piecing together a puzzle where she might just be the missing piece, the hunted instead of the hunter. One night, as the clock's hands crept toward midnight, a familiar face appeared in the doorway. A man she vaguely recognized, eyes obscured by shadows, approached her. His manner was disarming, and her heart raced not from fear, but something deeper. As he spoke, the lights flickered ominously overhead, and a weighty silence fell. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but a primal urge held her in place. The legends of the gas station loomed larger than life. What did he want? Could he hold the key to her safety or the depths of her demise? The world twisted into something unrecognizable, the sinister air igniting her senses, leaving her to wonder, how far was she willing to go to protect everything she loved? As he leaned closer, the shadows surged forward, and Maria felt the ground slip beneath her. As the shadows engulfed her, time lost meaning. The man leaned closer, his breath foul with something sweet yet rotten. You shouldn't be here, he whispered, his voice gravelly, a mere rasp that matched the unsettling ambience. Maria's heart raced, pummeling against her ribcage. How could he know her fears? I have to be here, she managed, her voice trembling. The words felt insufficient against the invisible weight pressing down on her. She glanced toward the door. The exit was so tantalizingly close but so far. The gas station felt alive around her, walls creaking, the flickering light buzzing louder as if warning her of the danger. The man's eyes pinched into her, like needles seeking a way to unravel her mind. They're watching, Maria. All of them. The shadows, they know what you're thinking. A chill crawled up her spine. What do you mean? The question escaped her lips before she could think. They can take you if you don't play along. Follow the rules or you'll end like the others. He stepped backward, but the shadows followed, clinging to him like a second skin. Others? Her voice barely rose above a whisper. She faltered, piecing together the fragments of stories she'd heard, the rumors of those who vanished like wisps of smoke. Fear twisted inside her, making it hard to breathe. The man nodded, his face twisting into a grimace. You think you're safe here? You're in their territory now. You can't trust anyone. He glanced around, eyes darting as if expecting to see a predator lurking behind the chip racks. Why did you come back then? The words slipped out, defiance mixing with fear. Because I'm trapped too, he replied, his voice cracking. You can't leave until you understand. The gas station, it's a game and we are the pieces. Maria's mind raced. A game? Her thoughts tugged at the carvings behind the counter, the rules etched deeply into her memory. Don't sleep. Don't trust the locals. Don't accept help. Each one took on a more ominous weight now. What game? She felt herself sinking as dread rooted her to the floor. The fluorescent lights above flickered darkly, the shadows swirling like a tempest. Suddenly, the man's face turned pale, panic spilling from his eyes. They're coming, he gasped, pointing toward the doorway. Maria turned and froze. Figures emerged from the outside, darkness, shapes draped in shadow, their faces obscured, some familiar yet distorted. The townsfolk she'd avoided, gazing at her with hollow eyes. What do you want? She shouted, though her voice trembled, betraying her fear. Join us, they whispered in unison, voices blending into a haunting chorus. Embrace the shadows, play the game. Adrenaline surged, and Maria spun, desperate to flee, heart pounding mercilessly. She pushed past the man, who suddenly caught her wrist, his grip vice-like. Don't run. He urged, eyes wide with terror. You don't know what that will bring. But the gas station shrieked in protest as she pulled away. The hum of the neon sign blared angrily, and the air suffocated her senses. With one frantic motion, she yanked the door open, and a blast of cool desert air rushed in. Then everything darkened. The door slammed shut behind her before she could step outside, trapping her in a void of blackness. A cacophony erupted around her, a chorus of whispering shadows pressuring, consuming. Follow the rules, Maria. They echoed, the tones morphing into menacing growls. Panic clawed at her chest, and she pressed her back against the counter, staring frantically into the void. What did the rules mean? Was there any way out? In that moment of despair, a voice cut through the confusion. You can't hide from the shadows, but you still have a chance. When she turned back, the familiar man was gone, leaving only darkness and the pressure of the whispers closing in around her. And then, a chilling thought pierced through the fog of fear. What if she was the game's next player? Fear surged, awakening a primal instinct. She had to find a way out, but the road ahead twisted and darkened. What lay beyond those shadows? Could she face the heart of the darkness waiting for her? The gas station grew quieter, as if holding its breath, waiting for her decision. Would she call on that last shred of courage to uncover the truth, or would she succumb to the terrifying whispers that demanded compliance? It was time to decide. Maria's fingers trembled against the cold metal of the counter, and the whispers intensified. Each chill-filled breath made her aware of the darkness thickening around her, squeezing tighter. She had to think. Had to act. The man's words echoed in her mind like a haunting melody. Follow the rules or you'll end like the others. Desperation clawed at her chest. What were the rules? If combinations mattered, then how could she outsmart this sinister game? Outside the gas station door, the figures shifted, their eyes unblinking, their mouths stretching into eerie smiles. They seemed almost excited. Was it possible they had played this game before? Were they trapped too? Suddenly, a low growl rumbled from the shadows, drawing her attention back. A voice whispered just behind her, taunting and sweet, "They want you to leave. But do you really want to escape?" The question dripped with malice, and Maria spun around to find the source. The darkness shifted, coiling like a serpent, and within it, a face emerged, smiling, mocking. The glow of the gas station sign cast flickering shadows across its features, revealing familiar eyes filled with twisted delight. "Who are you?" Maria choked out, her heart racing as dread washed over her. The figure's smile widened, stretching unnaturally. "You know me, Maria. You've seen my face in every corner of this town, and I've seen you too. Just like all of them." The shadows whispered in response, teasing her fragile state. "What do you want from me?" She pressed her back harder against the counter, feeling its solidity against her racing thoughts. But she sensed it was crumbling inside, the trust she had in her surroundings fading. "Join us. Embrace the darkness." It laughed, and the shadows rippled, eager to consume her next. "What's wrong? Did you think you could cheat? The rules are simple." "But I don't understand." Panic surged again, squeezing her throat. "What rules?" 3 lives, 3 players, and only one can survive." The voice turned excited, the shadows twisting eagerly around it. "Your turn will come, or you could choose to sacrifice someone else, another pawn in this eternal game." She felt sick. The suggestion twisted her insides and her cheeks flared hot with anger. "No. I want to play this sick game." "But you're already playing, Maria. You stepped into our world, didn't you?" The laughter filled the empty space, ringing hollow. "Deep inside, you already know. Your turn is almost here. The choice will be yours. Freedom, or the life of another." Fingers gripping tight to the counter, she felt warmth pooling at her feet as the shadows began to seep closer, hungry and enticing, coaxing her to surrender. The whispers grew louder, drowning her thoughts, casting doubts like fishing lines into the murky depths of her mind. With each pulse of her rapidly beating heart, she envisioned the faces of those who might pay the price for her freedom. Was she ready to make that sacrifice? "No!" she shouted, defiance surging through her. "I want to let myself become part of this madness." The shadows recoiled, a wave of sheer darkness washing back, creating ripples like disturbed water. She could feel the weight of their disappointment, the way they longed to consume her. But even as her defiance rang, another voice echoed inside her, a darker whisper, a lurking fear that perhaps choices needed to be made. The figures at the door faded, retreating into the night, their sinister whispers whispering promises of a life stolen. But then, an unnatural pressure settled deep within, suffocating and dark, pulsing like a heartbeat within the floor. A memory sparked a chilly snapshot of the rules she once ignored. An icy realization settled over her. If she was to survive this night, she had to seek out the heart of the shadows and weave a plan more cunning than any game they played. The lights overhead flickered, casting strange shapes across the gas station floor. She had moments left. What would she do next? Would the shadows claim her for good, or could she act before they pounced? As the darkness swirled dangerously, her heart thundered, and the only sound she could hear rattled with a foreboding chill. Would she unravel the truth of the game? Or would she be just another player lost to the void? The gas station held its breath, waiting, as the shadows lurked, plotting their next move. What secrets of survival lay buried in the dark? Would she dare uncover them? Maria's breath quickened. The shadows swirled, dancing like serpents hungry for a chance to strike. She had to act, but the options weighed heavily on her. The whispered confusion lingered, haunting her ears, mingling with the low growl that rumbled from the darkest corners of the gas station. What if the others, what if they're waiting for their moment too? She knew one truth, she had to find a way to turn the game back on them. As adrenaline surged through her veins, she glanced around the station, every exit cloaked in shadows, every corner dripping with dread. Was there something here that could help her? Then, a flicker caught her eye, a small, warped mirror hanging on the wall beside a row of dusty snacks. It reflected a distorted image of the darkened room, but it also felt alive. She approached it, drawn in by the depth of its darkness. Maybe reflections had power in this vile game, she thought. The surface rippled as she reached out, her fingertips brushing against the chilly glass. Maria leaned closer, catching a glimpse of faces hidden within the swirling shadows, twisted grins, hollow eyes. Had they been real? Had they once lived, just like her? The doubt spiraled in her mind, but she locked onto the ancient words slipping from the mirror's depths: the light reveals all. A spark ignited inside her, pushing back against the creeping despair. She wasn't alone. Others had stood where she stood, had faced similar shadows. But failing to resist now only invited darkness. With resolve hardening in her chest, Maria raced back to the cash register, grabbing the flashlight she always kept there. The light flicked on, casting beams through the thickening gloom. It cut through the oppressive darkness, illuminating the walls that began to tremble at its touch. "Let us see what you really are," she shouted into the abyss, the echoes of her voice ricocheting like shots in the night. At first, there was silence, a suspended breath caught in the air. Then the shadows hissed and drew back, writhing as if in pain. She could see them now, the outlines shifting in the light, shapes morphing into grotesque forms, more animal than man. 3 players, right? Maria recalled the words like a mantra, stealing her resolve. "Then let us make this a game of light and dark." The whispering shadows recoiled further, yet a deeper growl erupted from them, more furious now. "You think you can challenge us? You know nothing of the rules." Maria's heart thundered. "Maybe not, but I will learn." With every pulse of her heart, energy surged through her, and she remembered the other survivors of this wretched game. If she was to escape, she had to reclaim the power of hope, to rescue whatever light still flickered inside her. She turned the flashlight toward her reflection in the warped mirror. The light danced off its surface, weaving between threads of reality and illusion. Focusing her determination, Maria raised the beam high. She didn't just want to survive, she needed to use the very essence of her being to unweave the darkness around her. As the light expanded, the shadows writhed violently, howling and thrashing. But she felt that something shifted in the air. "Choose, Maria." That taunting voice whispered from the depths again, each word dripping with malice. "Who will you sacrifice?" "No one." She hollered, hacked at fear like it was a tangible thing. The darkness screamed, reverberating through the gas station, and she shifted the beam, desperate to outshine their sinister plans, but as the darkness shrieked and clawed for her, something unexpected happened. A flicker of warmth emanated from the heart of that black mass, a heartbeat, thrumming in rhythm with her own. What did it mean? Face the truth. The voice cried again, more frantic now. Maria's pulse quickened as she began to wonder, to unravel a strange notion woven into the shadow's very existence. Could she harness that heartbeat, place a mirror against it? What if there was a dark truth she needed to embrace instead of resist? The question twisted within her, echoing like a thunderclap. What did she need to know about the shadows before they swallowed her whole? Could she connect with them to break the cycle, or was the only choice left to live through the darkness again? The gas station spun around her, and in that chaos, whispering truths hung in the air, waiting to be snatched in her grasp. What if she did venture deeper? Time shifted, and once more, Maria felt the darkness pulse around her, eager and insatiable. What truth lay in waiting? The shadows surged, feral and wild, but Maria stood her ground. She could feel the dread pulsing through the gas station like a living organism, wrapping around her shoulders and squeezing her breath. The heartbeat thrummed louder, echoing in time with her own, creating an uneasy rhythm that vibrated deep within her bones. Face the truth. The voice curled around her thoughts, laced with the promise of revelation. It taunted her, goading her into something darker. But what truth could possibly lurk in that suffocating shadow? She needed clarity. She couldn't back down now. The spotlight of her flashlight had become a fragile shield, flickering under the weight of the approaching entities. She took a deep breath, letting it out slowly. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice steady, though fear twisted in her gut. The shadows paused. A moment suspended in time, stretched thin. "Sacrifice, choice," they crooned. "What are you willing to give up, Maria? Your hope? Your sanity? Or perhaps something more precious?" Each word slithered through the air, bearing cold dread. She groped for courage, but one clear thought pierced through: they wanted control. They thrived on her fear, feasting off every ounce of her confusion. Keeping her flashlight steady, she squinted deeper into the swirling mass. If I sacrifice anything, it'll be my remorse. The darkness hissed in protest, recoiling as her words struck a chord. But the pulsating heartbeat grew louder, more insistent, an echoing rhythm that made her head spin. In that twisted moment, Maria felt the pressure of unchosen paths, of lives lost long ago. Each heartbeat was a trail, a ghostly navigation through despair. She steadied the beam of light, driving it toward the heart of the shadows. What if I choose to face my fears instead? The shadows writhed, as if her refusal set them ablaze. Embrace us. They howled, voices merging into an unsettling chorus. You'll never escape without understanding. Everything inside her screamed to run, but part of her ached with curiosity. What do I have to lose? She mumbled, tinged with defiance. She stepped closer, heart hammering in her chest. The mirror caught her gaze again, gleaming with a sinister allure. Did it reflect truth, or mere illusion? No one is free, the darkness hissed, almost begging. We need you to wake up, Maria, wake up to the darkness in you. Only then, can you grasp what lies ahead. The air thickened, a predatory silence descending. She was entering a realm where survival and surrender blurred together. Maria's fingers traced the edge of the mirror, feeling an unseen force pulsing within it. What if she could reconcile her own shadows with theirs? At that moment, the heartbeat solidified into a rhythm she recognized. You were always part of this, the shadows whispered with newfound urgency. Gathering her courage, she glanced back at the distant exit. Freedom, or so it promised, but her heart whispered another option, another way. Could fear be my ally? She pondered aloud. The shadows laughed, dark and savage. Then come, Maria. Come and find out. Swallowed whole by the pulse of the shadows, she felt herself slip away from her own reality, stepping into darkness. Panic surged through her. No! She cried out, forcing the light to project forth, illuminating not only the room but also parts of herself she buried. Face it, Maria. The truth demands the ultimate price. Her mind raced. The shadows were no longer just outside, they were inside her, mingling with her memories, her regrets. The gas station faded away, the walls melting into a void of inky black. Suddenly, Maria found herself trapped in a labyrinth of her own making, splintered reflections of who she once was all around her, overlapping and distorting. The heartbeat reverberated like a warning bell. Was she strong enough to confront it? Or would she drown beneath the weight of her own darkness? Choose now. The shadows screamed, but who was she really? And then a horrifying thought clawed its way to the surface. What if this truth meant she was the monster in their story? The light flickered and dimmed, the corridor of shadows stretched endlessly. What if this was the beginning of a far darker game? What if her reality was only a mirror of the shadows lurking within? In that dreadful uncertainty, she took a step forward, and the walls closed in around her. Maria's heart raced as the walls of the labyrinth pressed closer, their proximity igniting a primal fear within her. The shadows danced hungrily, their whispers escalating to a cacophony of terror. Time is slipping, Maria. They urged, their voices now a menacing chorus that melded with the rhythm of her heartbeat. Face your consequence. The weight of their demands stifled her. Memories surged in an unforgiving tide, moments she had long tried to forget, choices that left scars. The reflections around her morphed into snapshots of her life, each one a reminder of her failures, her fleeting moments of joy twisted into grotesque parodies. Among the silhouettes, she glimpsed the haunting figure of her younger self, eyes bright with innocence. It sent jolts of pain through her chest. Why didn't you protect me? That version of her seemed to cry, and Maria felt the anguish ripple through her very core. Let go, the shadows hissed, swirling tighter. Let the darkness embrace you. No. She shouted, voice trembling. I want to let you win. For a split second, conviction ignited in her. But the shadows thrived on her resolve, feeding off it, growing bolder in their encroachment. They feasted on doubt and despair, filling the air with a chilling desire. "What do you see, Maria?" A voice pierced the chaos, a single low murmur that consumed her attention. The shadows coiled around her, shifting to reveal a dark portal pulsating in front of her, a door that hummed with a sinister energy. "This is your truth. Do you dare step inside?" The air thickened, heavy with foreboding. She hesitated. The weight of innumerable decisions felt like chains dragging her down. What lay beyond the threshold? Was it knowledge, madness, or something even worse? A shudder rippled through her. "You've already sacrificed so much," the shadows taunted, wrapping around her arms, fingers tightening like a vice. "What's one more piece of yourself?" Her breath quickened. "If I step in, what will I become?" She whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. "Only what you refuse to acknowledge." They cried, their collective voices rising in fevered insistence. "We show you the truth, Maria. Only then can you be free." With her heart pounding like a war drum, she took a daring step forward. The world spun and twisted, colors blending into a whirlpool as she crossed the threshold. Dark energy engulfed her, and she felt a searing heat ripple across her skin. Suddenly, she was standing in a room familiar yet alien, where the gas station was just a memory. Flickering fluorescent lights cast an eerie glow over the space, revealing faces of long-gone patrons, their expressions forlorn, swathed in a layer of dust. Shadows danced behind them, their mouths moving silently in protest. "Why are you here?" A voice demanded, firm and echoing. It belonged to a man, his figure barely visible, but his presence overwhelming. "Do you even understand what you've unleashed?" "Unleashed? I'm just looking for answers," Maria cried, fear and frustration fueling her desperation. "Answers?" The man echoed, chin raised defiantly. "What will you pay for them?" In that moment, Maria faced a choice that felt monumental. Would she confront the torment, or would she retreat into the comforting numbness of ignorance? The shadows began to swirl again, tendrils reaching for her, desperate for her decision. "Choose, Maria." They hissed, the air electric with urgency. Determination surged through her trembling body. "I'll confront my fears," she declared, but the shadows howled in defiance. Suddenly, the ground shook, and cracks spiderwebbed around her, light seeping through the gaps like the dawn breaking. Shadows shrieked, pulling inward, almost as if they were afraid of the emerging light. As the brightness swallowed the darkness, a chilling thought gnawed at her mind. What if she was never meant to emerge at all? Just then, a new voice, chilling and powerful, slithered through the air. "Let us see if you can survive the light, Maria." What did the voice mean by that? Did it mean reclaiming her sanity was an elusive dream? Maria's heart sank as the walls began to close again, the last remnants of darkness clawing to pull her back. She drew a sharp breath, ready to fight against it, but the shadows were relentless. As the light flickered and threatened to vanish, Maria felt one final tremor ripple through her. Would she lose everything, or was a power buried within just waiting to awaken? The shadows pulsed with sinister anticipation. Was she truly the monster in this story, or simply a pawn caught in a game far darker than she had imagined? As she stood at the crossroads, torn between light and shadow, everything hung in the balance. The light engulfed Maria, searing across her skin like a brand, illuminating every shadowy corner of her fears. As the shadows shrieked, their tendrils releasing her in a desperate attempt to retreat, Maria's resolve solidified. She would not let the darkness claim her, whatever the consequences, but the voice, that sinister whisper, still lingered, echoing in her mind like a jarring melody. Survive the light. What could it mean? Were the shadows merely a manifestation of her own doubts? As the last remnants of darkness dissipated, she found herself alone in the sprawling space. An empty gas station stood eerily still, the aisles lined with dusty products, mundane yet haunting. The fluorescent lights hummed discordantly above, casting flickering patterns on the cracked linoleum floor. It felt like a stage fossilized in time, where nightmares played unrelentingly in the audience's mind. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, thickening with an intangible weight. "Are you really free?" a whispering voice echoed from nowhere and everywhere at once, wrapping around her shoulders like a cold breeze. "Can you escape the truth of your past?" Maria's pulse quickened. She struggled to steady her breathing in the oppressive silence. "What do you mean?" she retorted, her voice trembling as the floor creaked ominously beneath her. "It's not just the darkness you face, Maria," the voice crooned, a sinister calm underlying the words. "It's the light. It exposes all, including the parts of you that crave shadows." From the corner of her eye, movement. Shadows that had retreated began to slither forth once more, merging with the pale light to create grotesque figures, twisted reflections of herself. Each represented a decision she wished she could take back. Each face bore her own familiar features, yet haunted and twisted in mockery. "No!" she shouted, casting her gaze defiantly at her shadowy doppelgangers. "I refuse to let you control me." But as she spoke, the reflections morphed further, transforming into faces of her loved ones, her sister, her mother, friends long lost. Each one looked at her with betrayal. "You abandoned us," they lamented, their voices a well of sorrow dragging her deeper into despair. Tears spilled from her eyes, but she fought them back. "No. I did what I had to. I tried to save you." "Save us?" the unified voice mocked. "You only saved yourself. The light shows your truth, Maria, a coward cloaked in false bravery." The shadows lunged forward, but this time she pushed back with ferocity. "You're not real. You're creations of my guilt." She felt a surge of power coursing through her, as if the light had awakened something dormant within. "Then face it," they screeched, merging together into a swirling vortex of anguish. Maria's heart raced as she summoned every ounce of her courage. She stepped toward them. "I accept my past. I refuse to be defined by my mistakes." With that declaration, a brilliant light exploded from within her, illuminating everything, a radiant barrier warding off the encroaching shadows. It felt as if she were shedding layers of herself, the armor of her traumas melting away. Yet, just as clarity flooded her mind, the gas station began to tremble violently. The shadows, furious and relentless, coalesced into a monstrous figure, dark and towering, emanating pure dread. "You think you're free?" it bellowed, voice booming like thunder. "You will never escape. The true horror has only just begun." Maria's breath hitched as darkness crept around her again. She felt the sinister figure drawing closer, a whirlwind of anguish and hatred. Just as the first tendril of darkness brushed against her arm, a blinding flash erupted from her. The moment hung in balance. Would the light be enough to push back the horror, or would she succumb to the very darkness she sought to defeat? As the shadows roared with fury, Maria realized she still had one choice left, one card to play. With her heart in her throat, she focused on the light. Just then, a blinding vision hit her, swirling images of betrayal flashing before her eyes, and in that moment, she understood. Was the true nightmare the shadows or simply her inability to accept her own darkness? As the monster advanced, forcing her back, she knew that confronting the truth was the only way forward. The line between light and dark blurred, and the decision weighed heavily in the air. What revelation awaited her in the sea of shadows, and would she be brave enough to face it? The gas station trembled as if it were alive, shaking in rhythm with the deafening roar of the monstrous figure. Maria's heart pounded like a drum, an urgent reminder that time was running out. The swirling shadows closed in, their claws outstretched, twisting and writhing like snakes seeking prey. "Face your darkness, Maria." The grotesque entity's booming voice echoed, a taunting chant that reverberated through the empty aisles. A part of Maria wanted to believe it was just a figment of her imagination. But she could feel its malevolence, palpable and invasive, wrapping around her like a suffocating shroud. The light within her flickered, a hesitant flame in the face of a raging storm. She could see those faces again, her loved ones twisted in agony, an unrelenting courtroom of accusation. "You're not strong enough," they seemed to whisper. "You're afraid." "No." Maria shouted defiantly, her voice cracking under the weight of her emotions, but she shoved the doubt deep down, forcing it to submit. She dug into her memory, grasping at the remnants of her courage. A flicker of warmth sparked inside her, illuminating the shadows' cries, piercing through their darkened visage. With every ounce of energy she possessed, Maria summoned the light, channeling her strength into a radiant beam that shot toward the looming figure. "You don't own me," she cried, her voice growing stronger. "You're just a reflection of my fear." The words hung heavy in the air, but she pushed through, feeling the luminous energy swell around her, a shield of truth. The shadows recoiled, their grotesque forms faltering. But just as victory seemed within reach, the ground beneath her rattled violently. The lights flickered more aggressively, and the air thickened with dread. Maria stumbled back, unable to keep her balance as the laughter of the figure morphed into a cacophony of screams from her past. "You think that light can save you?" it sneered, its voice dripping with disdain. "The truth is, you're standing on the edge of your regret, one step closer to plunging into despair." She dared to glance over her shoulder. The gas station had shifted, the aisles warping into a corridor of twisted memories, a nightmarish labyrinth she thought she had escaped. Each shelf now resembled a coffin, tales of her failures contained in each one, taunting her relentlessly. "Not today!" she cried out, refusing to give in. The shadows surged again, a reckless wave of anger crashing against her resolve. She could feel their bitter chill, seeping through her skin, gnawing at the edges of her spirit. Then, something cracked. The tightly wound grip of fear loosened just enough for Maria to see a flicker of truth inside herself: acceptance. She had to accept all of it, the guilt, the pain, and yes, even the shame. With a deep breath, she let the light spill from her heart, letting it flow freely, illuminating the darkness and blending with the shadows. The grotesque figure shrieked, a sound so piercing it felt like shards of glass scraping against her soul. "Do you feel that?" it snarled, the monstrous facade faltering as Maria's light consumed the darkness around her. Memories flooded her mind, vivid and raw, memories of laughter, love, and life. The shadows twisted, momentarily lost under the onslaught of warmth. "I forgive myself," she whispered, a defiant spark igniting within her. "And for that, you have no power over me." The figure screeched again, crumbling under the illumination. Yet, amidst the chaos, a flicker of doubt pierced through her newfound courage. What if she was wrong? What if the darkness returned stronger, more relentless? Just as the shadows began to dissipate, a new voice broke through the dark, seductive whisper that had first taunted her. "You think this is the end? You're merely delaying the inevitable." Suddenly, the gas station ground shook violently, darkness seeped from the cracks of the walls, threatening to engulf her once more. Maria's heart raced as the certainty of her situation crashed back in. Had she won, or was the true battle just beginning? The floor gave way beneath her feet, and she felt herself plummeting into an abyss unseen. Fear clawed at her, but she clasped tightly to the light still flickering deep within. What awaited her at the bottom? Would this descent lead to salvation or push her further into despair? The echoes of her past loomed as shadows whispered warnings. She'll have to confront that in the end. Would she rise, or would she be consumed by the darkness she once thought she had escaped? Maria fell into the darkness, weightless, as the shadows twisted around her like a whirlpool. The luminescence she had conjured flickered and danced, struggling against the suffocating grip of despair that clawed at her sanity. Time lost meaning in the void, but her mind raced. Was her fight truly over? As she hit solid ground with a jolt, the darkness absorbed what little light she had left, swallowing it whole. She landed hard on a gritty surface that scratched at her skin, pulling her from the throes of confusion. Breathing heavily, she pushed herself up, blinking as her eyes adjusted to the dim light. The atmosphere changed suddenly, the air buzzed with an electric tension that made her skin prickle. Around her, the walls pulsed with a dark agony, cavernous spaces flickering with the dim glow of not-so-distant memories. The walls felt familiar, steeped in despair. They were lined with images, the faces of her loved ones, twisted and wretched. "Do you see what you've chosen?" A voice whispered, cold and smooth, thawing the last remnants of comfort in her heart. It echoed in the hollow hallways of her mind, wrapping tightly around her throat. "They weep for you, Maria, they know you can't escape." "Shut up!" she screamed, her voice echoing back like a taunt. She lurched forward, stepping deeper into the nightmarish landscape, desperate to break free from the paralyzing threat that hung in the air. Her tears rolled down, mingling with the grime beneath her, each drop a testament to her struggle. Then, shadowed figures emerged from the walls, their features grotesque and familiar. They reached for her with eager, clawing hands. "You thought you could fight fear with light?" they sneered, their terrible laughter reverberating through the darkness. "You're still the same, fragile, cowardly, and alone." Each step she took felt heavier, as if the weight of every past mistake pressed down on her shoulders. "You're nothing," they moaned, their voices a cacophony of anguish. "You will always fall short, the flames will consume you." Maria stumbled, grappling with the depth of their words. They echoed her clandestine horrors, the failures she kept buried in the recesses of her mind. Was she really here to confront her past, or had she simply sunk deeper into a festering wound? "Face your truth." The monster's voice thundered once more, now resonating within the very walls that surrounded her. "Only then can you be free." She took a moment, frustration bubbling at the surface of her soul. "Face my truth," she muttered, realizing that they reflected her fear of herself. She steeled herself, pushing against the dread that threatened to claim her. A flicker of resolve ignited in her chest. "I am not just my pain. I am more. I've survived." In response, the shadows recoiled, warmth spilled from her heart like a molten tide. "I can do this," she shouted, desperation turning into raw power. Memories soared around her, and she embraced the joy that flickered there, swallowing her fears whole. But the shadows surged back ferociously, thrashing against her resolve. The ghostly figures lunged forward, attempting to envelop her. "Weakness defines you," they screamed. "And you're trapped between worlds." The ground shook violently beneath her feet once again. She screamed, clenching her fists as the power she had summoned surged anew, clashing with the darkness around her. If she could just hold on a little longer, would her will be enough to banish the darkness that suffocated her, or would she be trapped forever in this echo of her despair? As the shadows lunged, a blinding light burst forth, pushing the darkness back like a tidal wave. But just as she felt it might be a breakthrough, the earth crumbled at her feet again, threatening to pull her down into an even deeper chasm. Where would she end up this time? Would she be swallowed by darkness, or would she find the way to truly confront her fears? The fight had only just begun. Maria stood at the edge of the abyss, shadows swirling around her like a fierce storm. The monstrous figure loomed before her, its ghastly features contorted in an endless frown of disdain. Sweat trickled down her neck, but the heat growing inside her wasn't from fear, it was defiance. Time seemed suspended, the darkness thick like fog. But she could see through it now. Each figure reaching for her mirrored her past mistakes, her pain, her regrets. They clamored for her attention, desperate to drag her into despair. "I'm not afraid of you," she shouted, her voice rising above the clamoring of their accusations. With every ounce of strength she could muster, she thrust her light forward, and a beam as vibrant as the dawn shot from her core, illuminating the space around her like the first morning rays breaking through night. The shadows recoiled, their forms distorting and shrieking as the light engulfed them. She felt the warmth pulse through her veins, stronger than any dread they had instilled within her. "You don't own me," she screamed again, this time infused with powerful conviction. The monstrous figure opened its mouth, attempting to drown her with its growls, but Maria pressed on. Her heartbeat synchronized with the pulse of light enveloping her. Her memories began to flash before her eyes, but not as tormentors. Heartwarming snippets of laughter with friends washed over her, her sister's smile, her mother's encouraging words, joyous moments that formed a cocoon of warmth. She weaved through the images, allowing acceptance to forge new threads, old wounds healing with each shining realization. With that acceptance, she felt the walls of the gas station tremble once more, not with peril this time, but in a finale. She stood firm, each drop of courage swirling inside her forming an impenetrable barrier of light against the encroaching shadows. "Face your truth." The voice thundered, echoing ominously again. "I will." Maria took a deep breath, standing tall against the rising tide of shadows. "I embrace all of me, the light and dark. I am defined by my choices, not my fears." The instant those words left her lips, something shifted. The shadows shimmered, their forms undulating, hollowness radiating from them, as if they, too, were learning from her acceptance. In a cascading wave, the shadows began to unravel, their grotesque forms dissolving into particles of dust, blown away by the wind of her newfound clarity. The monstrous figure screamed one final time before being swallowed by the golden light. For a heartbeat, everything fell silent. The gas station flickered around her, life returning to its weary form. Mirrors returned to walls, shelves to displays of snacks, the restroom door creaked open, and the broken neon sign above buzzed to life, then the stillness shattered as a chill enveloped her. She glanced at her reflection, the familiar face now radiating strength instead of fear. Maria dared to step forward, taking one last look around the empty space that had held her captive. "I choose my path." With a surge of resolve, she turned toward the door. The gas station stood proud and steady, the shadows strangely absent. She reached for the handle with trembling hands, the weight of her past now lightened by acceptance. As she pushed it open, cool desert air rushed in, invigorating her senses. The night sky breathed before her, vast and unending, sprinkled with millions of stars, each one a promise of a new beginning. Stepping outside, Maria felt free. No more haunting whispers. Each step on the gravel felt solid beneath her feet, coursing with the rhythm of hope. She had faced the shadows. She had chosen not just to survive, but to thrive, embracing every part of herself. And that made all the difference. Maria walked forward into the dawn of her new life, leaving behind the past and welcoming the future with open arms. The screen faded to black, and the gas station disappeared into the recesses of memory, but the lesson lingered: you can emerge from darkness if you are willing to confront it. You never truly know your strength until you face your truth. If you enjoyed this journey with Maria, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and share your thoughts in the comments below about Maria's victory over the shadows. And please, instantly share this story with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful conclusion. They won't want to miss it.